Hi, this is Dave, and today we're going to install this 8-gang switch panel from SUPAREE in our Jeep JK. This is a waterproof switch panel, and also the keypad is wireless, so you don't have to run wires into the Jeep. So let's take a look and see what we got in the box here. So we have some double-sided tape. We have some stickers to put on the lights so you can identify what you wire up to each light or each switch. Have some instructions that are pretty decent. They give some battery cables for wiring up power to the switch panel. We have a 60 amp circuit breaker to protect everything. Screws. USB cable to power the keypad on the inside. Some wires and some wire ties. And we've got several different mounting brackets for the keypad. And this is the relay panel itself. We can open up. You can see it's all epoxied in, so it's waterproof. Has connections for the plus and minus battery lead. This is for the switched power so that it will turn off when you turn off the keys. Each light or accessories that you wire up has its own fuse and has its own terminals here with a plus and minus for each wire, so you don't have to run wires all over. You can just bring all your wires for your light into one spot. It also comes with spare fuses and a fuse puller all in the lid here. And this is the wireless keypad that mounts on the inside. You just have to supply USB power to it. And then underneath the foam pad, we have a couple different brackets for options to mount the relay panel onto. So we're looking forward to trying this out. Let's see what it takes to get it installed. All right, let's open the hood. We'll need to find a place to mount this relay panel. And after doing some investigation, it looks like mounting it right here would be a perfect spot. And then the circuit breaker will mount on the other side over here. By the battery. And then we'll just have to run cables back and forth between them. Here on the driver's side, behind this ABS module, is a ground screw that's not being used. And it has the nut on it and everything like that. So I'm going to take that loose, and I can slide the mounting bracket right on there. And then I'll use another screw on the other side. To get to that, I have to take a couple of screws loose to be able to move this a little bit. The screw up here we'll take out. Then there's one more way down here in the bottom underneath the horn that you need a long extension and a swivel socket to get to. Now we'll take a 10mm wrench and we'll just loosen this nut a little bit. Now we can slide this bracket down behind the nut. Okay. And we just have to tighten it back up. It's a really small hole, but with a little patience you can get it tight in there. This is the bolt down in here that is existing on the Jeep on the driver's side that we're attaching the bracket to. Next we're going to drill a pilot hole for a screw to go in this hole up here in the bracket. You want to make sure that there's no wires that you're going to be drilling into. Everything's clear. Now we can put the screw in and tighten it down. There, nice and solid. Now we can just put everything back. Now we can put these bolts back in to the top here. Leave them loose until we get everything started. Do the one down below. Now we have the bracket all installed to mount the relay panel. Now we can mount the relay panel to the bracket. They give you several locations here to mount it. I'm going to mount it all the way to the inside to give it the most room to clear the hood. So they give you a bolt and a little nut that goes on the bottom. And the same thing for over here. Then we can take a wrench and an Allen wrench and tighten it down. And as you mount it, you want to make sure that the terminals are to the inside because there's a slot in the bottom where all the wires go through. Next, we're going to build a bracket to mount the circuit breaker on over here by the battery. So I have a piece of 2-inch wide aluminum that I got from the local hardware store. I'm going to mount it on there, and I'm going to drill a hole and put it right where this mounting bolt is right here. So now we'll mark, take a square, mark off where we want to cut it. And then we'll plan where we want to put the breaker. And we'll mark the holes for that too. Now we'll take a hacksaw and we'll just cut along that line. Now I've got to get that burr off there so we don't have a sharp edge. Just use a file. So we want to plan where to put this hole. So we want to put it so the bracket is in a little bit from the edge. So, and kind of centered on the hole. So about there. And then we'll also center it in the bracket. So, about right there. Now we'll go ahead and take this bolt out. Now we're going to center punch where we want to drill the holes. Put it up in the vise. Now we'll drill a 1/4 inch hole back where it mounts on the body. And the 2 other holes. There. And I'll just mount on like that. Now that we've got the mounting bracket made, we can bolt the circuit breaker onto it using a couple of bolts and nut. Then we'll tighten it down. Over here by the passenger side, we can mount this on the where the bolt is that we took out earlier. Just like that. Next thing we have to do is route battery cables from the relay panel over to the battery and the circuit breaker. We're going to be using some other wire that didn't come with the kit because we've mounted it too far away. The red wire is going to go to the terminal that says plus, and then the other side of the red wire will go to the circuit breaker. The black wire will go to the side that says minus, and that'll go, the other end of the black wire goes to the negative terminal on the battery. So to connect these, we have to we're going to put these ring terminals on. So we want to strip back the insulation. And we're going to put a little piece of heat shrink on first. And then we're going to put the terminal on. And then we have a terminal crimper that we're going to use. Open it up. Crimp it down. Make sure you have a good tight crimp on it. Then we slide the heat shrink over, and we use a heat gun to shrink the tubing. To get it hot, the tubing will shrink and make a good tight seal around the wire, so dirt doesn't get into the end of the wire under the insulation. And then when we get that all done, then we can connect it to the positive here. We can do the black terminal the same way. Kind of measure how much we need. Put the heat shrink on. Put the terminal on. And clamp it down. And then we warm up the heat shrink. So black to the negative. I can put the red wire back on the terminal with the plus. Now we're going to route the wires around here underneath the horn here. We're going to tie wrap them along this wire duct here all the way over till we get to the other side to the battery. Now we've got the wires routed all the way from the other side over here to the side with the battery. So we're going to take the red wire and we're going to connect it on one of the terminals of the circuit breaker. And then they give you a little rubber cover so you don't drop something on there. Next, we'll come over here to the negative terminal of the battery, and you want to loosen this bolt to take the cable off the battery. And then the second bolt back here where all the wires go, I'm going to take that one off. And we're going to take the black wire from our relay panel.
Sorry, I can't see.
Negative wire from our relay panel. And we're going to put it on the stud here. We already have a cable from our winch that's here too, so we're just going to double them up. Put the washers back on. And tighten that up. And we'll leave that off for right now. Then we're going to go over here to the positive terminal. We're going to take that battery cable off. Just loosen that one a little bit. And take it off. And then we're going to use this terminal here. Take the nut off. And then we've got a short piece of cable that we'll put on there and tighten back down with the nut. I'm going to route the short cable over, and he's going to connect onto the other terminal of the circuit breaker. And we're going to just leave. Then we can go through and we can use tie wraps and make all these cables nice and neat, and we'll put the battery terminals on later. Next, we have to give it an ignition signal so that it knows when the key's on. So we're going to use the supplied fuse tap that they give you. They give you a 5-amp fuse to put in here, and then you can use this to plug into where a fuse exists already, and you would move your fuse over to here. But I found that over here, in this slot right here, is an unused fused hole that is for heated seats. I don't have the heated seats option, so I'm going to use that. And I verified with a meter that it is a switched power. So the first thing we have to do is create a little hole over here for the wire to get out. So we're just going to take a pair of side cutters, and we're going to create a little notch for the wire. Like that. Next, we've run the wire from the control box over to here, and we're gonna just strip a little bit of it off. And we're gonna put it into the butt splice that they give you and crimp it down. Making sure to have a really tight seal. And then we'll go over here.
Where?
To that hole that we found over here where there's a spare fuse hole. And we're going to plug it in. Like that. And then route the wire out through that notch that we made. And we can put the cover back on. Like that. Now I'm back over here on the driver's side to where the relay box is. This is the other side of that ignition wire. I've already run it through over to the other side. I'm going to cut it to length. And we're going to strip a little bit of the wire off and twist it. And we're just going to put a little solder on the end of it to make it stiff. and then the wire shoves down in this terminal right here. Now that we've got all the power wires and the ignition wire hooked up here, now we can start hooking up the lights, our auxiliary lights. So on the keypad here, you have a button for every output or every relay on the board here. And the button on this side at the bottom corresponds to the two screws here, and it goes across in this order, and then up here the top left is the first two closest to the battery here. So what we're going to do is, if you look on this side, you'll see there's a plus and a minus for each one. There's two sets of terminals, which makes it nice for hooking up your lights. You don't have to run grounds everywhere. They're all right here. And then it also tells you the amperage, which is how many amps the fuse is here. So I'm going to use this one here, which is a 10 amp fuse. And you're going to want to make sure that you screw this terminal open all the way, and then you put the positive wire in the plus and tighten the screw down. And then we do the same thing with the minus or the ground. Open it up all the way, put the wire in, and tighten it down. And then pull on the wires and make sure they're tight. Now we're ready to hook the battery up. We're back over here on the passenger side. So we're going to hook up the positive lead first. Push it down and tighten up the bolt for the clamp. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then do the same thing with the negative terminal. Then over here at the circuit breaker that we added, we want to turn it on, so we'll push it down, and that's the on position. If you need to turn it off, you can push the button and that turns it off. But we're ready to have it on now. Now we're all finished wiring in the engine compartment. We need to find a place to mount the keypad. The keypad is wireless, so we don't need any wires running up to the front of the engine, but we do need to supply USB power to it. And they supply a USB cable. It's a USB-C to just regular USB, but they don't supply a power source, so you need to have your own USB port to charge it from. As long as it's powered from the USB, the keypad will be on. There's no battery in here, so you can't use it remotely walking around or anything. And they supply a mounting bracket that you can screw on the back. And with this, you have many mounting options. You can mount it on the dash, you can mount it over here on the A-pillar, and kind of any choices. You could even mount it up here, but I've got my radio up here already. So for me, I've got this phone mount here made by ProClip that I've already installed, been using it for years. So I'm just going to use double face tape that they supply and tape it right on here. And I think that'd be a good location. So now we're going to start by putting some double face tape on the back of the switch panel. And we're going to mount it right there and stick it down. Now we need to power this with a USB cable. They provide this one, which is straight, and it hangs right down in front of the radio. Makes it hard to see the radio screen. So I've got a different cable that has got a 90-degree USB-C connector on it. So I can plug that in. We're going to run this across over our phone mount and down to our USB charger here that's got 2 ports on it. Now that we've got all this connected, now we're going to go test the lights and see if they work. So to power it, we need to turn on the ignition. And then you turn on the power button. And you'll see that there's all the green lights. This is so that when you put the stickers on that tell you what each one does. So you can see what it is. And then when you want to turn the light on, so this is the button I wired up to our lights in the bumper. Turn that on, you get a red light here, and you can see the lights on in the front of the Jeep. Off, on. So it's working. Now we've got everything wired up and it's working good. It'll be a nice addition to the Jeep. It has spots for 8 lights or other accessories, each with their own fuse, and there's a little red LED on the side there that lights up when the light is turned on, but the fuse is blown. So that can help you do troubleshooting out on the trail to know if it's a problem with the fuse or the light. This would be a great addition. So all we have to do is put the cover on, and it's ready to go. This auxiliary switch panel from SUPAREE will work great. It has up to a spot for 8 lights or other accessories, easy to wire, and it'll be a great addition. If you find this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And thank you for watching.